Yeah, that's sixth gear, the gear of adventure. The gear that says, hey, you bought me for a reason. Get off your ass and let's go and explore the world. Triumph Bonneville T120 has 6 gears, 1 down and 5 up. And each gear tells a different part of the story that the T120 is. So if you are new to the Bonneville T120 or just curious about how the gears feel, well, this video is for you. We're gonna go for a rather long ride today, and I'll take you through each gear and share my opinion on how each of them feels on the road. So stick around and we will get moving in a jiffy. In order to understand your bike's gears, I think it's important to understand your bike's torque, its muscle, its pull or push power. The T120, sorry, the T was my first bike. The T120 delivers 77 foot-pounds of torque at 3,500 RPM. 3,500 RPM, which translated into a language that anybody can understand basically means that most of this bike's power and strength is in the lower gears. So this bike really pulls hard from the get-go. It's wild like that. In first gear, now imagine, I always, honestly, from the moment I hopped on the bike and just got it going, I thought of that first gear as a rather caged beast, right? Huffing and puffing. It's just, impatiently waiting to be let go. And so yes, the first gear is rather wild. It's fantastic for like taking off from a stop sign or red light. Don't take off while there is a red light, but you get my meaning. Once it turns green, this bike goes. It really pulls you. So the first gear does that, but that's all it does. And this bike does not like its first gear. There's a really interesting relationship between the first gear and the T120. It really doesn't like it. It just lurches and twitches and it just wants to go. So the first gear will take you anywhere from 0 to 20 miles per hour, and then it really wants to move on. And that brings us to my favorite gear for climbing these kind of roads, right? And the second gear. The second gear, I really have been thinking about, just honestly because I ride this road a lot, up the Bear Mountain Road, meandering road, twists and turns, just a beautiful, beautiful road. And one thing I've noticed about this bike is that it really prefers, right now I'm in third gear, but when going up slopes like this, or mountains like this, it really loves the second gear. The second gear is like a mountain goat, sure-footed, very planted, excellent balance, and great for, climbing up mountains or up slopes. Fantastic. It's really my favorite gear. So it performs really well in these kind of situations. And around the bend. It gives you enough torque, you know, to feel planted, but not too much though, so the rear wheel kind of slips under you. So very sure-footed. The mountain goat. And that's the second gear. Now, the second gear does not do very well on, you know, flat roads. It really doesn't. It just gets you from 20 miles per hour to 30, maybe 35, but that's pushing it. It really just, you know, it communicates with you and says, hey, enough. I've had enough of this. Let's get moving. So it really wants to move up to third gear, which is this, the one I'm in right now. I love the third gear. The third gear is a false fourth gear. It's a very tall gear, or, you know, long gear. It really is. It can take you anywhere from 40 miles an hour to even as far as 55 miles per hour. It's a really long gear, it's a tall gear, and I absolutely love it. And the bike seems to kind of come into its own in the third gear. It doesn't fully, but it really starts coming into its own. The ride is a lot smoother, there's no jerkiness, no twitching. I absolutely love the third gear. It's definitely the gear that I consider highway worthy. It makes the bike highway worthy. It's really, it gets up to those highway speeds. So right now I'm in third gear and I'm doing 50. So it really, you know, the bike really come into its own. The ride becomes smoother. Obviously, right now the bike is telling me, hey, shift up. So 50 miles per hour is the best that it can do, really, before the bike says, hey, listen, it is just too much torque here, it's too much muscle, and you know, you need to shift, you need to, you know, get me up and moving. So right now, we're gonna go down because we have entered a 35 mile per hour speed limit. So you can definitely cruise in the third gear, absolutely. And it's not too bad at all. And on a road like this, it's actually perfect. Which is why I really like the third gear. I have to make a point here. I read a review, and the review actually was beautiful. I'm gonna post the link somewhere up on the video. But the reviewer had written about the gears, and there was a section in the review where the reviewer had reviewed the 20. Well, there you go. Takes off like there's no tomorrow. First gear. But then, you know, you gotta shift up. And the second gear only does so much, and then third gear is where you get to cruising speed, and the bike kind of, you know, smooths out a little bit, the torque. Anyway, going back to the review, so the reviewer, when discussing the gears of the T120, he kind of made a point saying that the gears are so tall, so long, that, you know, as soon as you shift up from the first gear, the bike becomes expressway or freeway or highway worthy. It gets to those speeds very quickly. I mean, I see what he was trying to do. He was basically trying to underscore the fact that the bike has very long gears, unlike many other bikes. But I haven't ridden them also. I can't talk about those. I get the point, but I have to tell you, that's not entirely true, you know? The second gear is not going to get you to those speeds. It definitely will not. It might get you to 30, 35, but that's as far as it will go. And then, you know, hey, listen, it has to be shifted up. So I wanted to make that point. The third gear is actually the gear that makes this bike freeway or highway worthy, with speed limits between 40 to 55 miles per hour. Okay, so you get that. Of course, you know, this goes a lot, and we'll talk about that. That's not its limit, the 55 mile, not this bike's limit. But yeah, the third gear is what makes this bike really, you know, freeway worthy or highway worthy. So, third gear. Now, let's get into my favorite gear, which is the one I'm currently on. Fourth gear. Fourth gear is what I like to call the Goldilocks kind of a zone. Not too hot, right? Not too cold. Just absolutely right. It's just perfect for this bike. That is when the bike really comes fully into its own, and I think the kind of the bike hits that peak torque, and you can see that in fourth gear we're doing basically 2500 RPM. It's so crazy how this bike, most of this, what this bike has to offer, you can find that between the 2K and the 3K, or 35 probably hundreds RPMs. That's its Goldilocks zone, its perfect zone. Even though, you know, its max horsepower, it reaches it at, I think, 6700 RPM. And honestly, so far, even when I ride it in like higher gears, fifth or sixth, which I do less often than you would think, this bike, I've never seen it go past 3500 RPM. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, the fourth gear, this bike really comes into its own. It's absolutely beautiful. The ride is totally smoothed out. You can see that there's a linear balance in the engine, and that's the beauty about the T120. Like some of the bikes, it communicates with you. Really, every part of the bike talks to you. So you kind of feel like right now the bike is telling me, hey, you're going 50 miles an hour, 50 miles per hour, and you're doing 2500 RPM. That's pretty good. It doesn't, you know, don't max out the revs, honestly. This bike is not that kind of a bike. It just likes, this is the perfect Goldilocks for the bike. The fourth gear, which does very well on roads with speed limits of 45 miles per hour to 55 miles per hour. And on flat roads, the fourth gear is king, and it really has a lot of passing power. Look at that. You don't need to shift up. The torque is there. It will really... Oh, man. There was a car about to merge on the right side, so I was like, let me just get ahead of that car. It really does... Unbelievable. It has a lot of passing power in fourth gear. And so, yeah, love the fourth gear. Yeah, it's my favorite gear, and the gear I use the most, especially on the freeway. It just does a beautiful job. I greatly respect the fourth gear. Now let's talk about the last two gears, the fifth and the sixth. Now, unlike gears 1 through 4, the last two gears don't necessarily have as much personality as those gears. They really do not. And I think they were designed with that in mind. You know, they don't have personality traits as apparent as the other four. The fifth gear acts more like a a recliner, you know? It just tells you, hey, lean back, relax, stretch out your legs a little bit, your feetses, and just let me hum along, you know, that kind of thing. And that's what it does. I call that the cruiser gear, the gear for long distances. And that's exactly what it does. For, you know, for most people like me who lives in a state where most of the highways have a speed limit of 55 miles per hour, I barely ever use the fifth gear. I do, but I barely use it. And that's the nature of the fifth gear. The fifth gear basically says, hey, listen, I can take you further than the confines of your little town, the confines of your big or small state. I will take you on an adventure. So that's where adventure begins, with the fifth gear. It really does quite well on the highway, and really it just you know, it doesn't have a lot of personality, but it lets you relax, you know, de-stress, and so, you know, it has plenty of power to take you anywhere from the 65 miles per hour, where the fourth gear most likely will leave you, to 75 and 80 and even higher, although I've never tried it, so can't say. But I have used it on like interstate highways where the speed limit sometimes is 65 miles per hour. So I have definitely used it, and I felt quite comfortable with it. The sixth gear, oh boy, oh boy. The sixth gear is really fun. You know, the sixth gear is like that cousin you never see, but when you do, you're kind of happy to see them. So that's the kind of what the sixth gear is. It's the cousin, right, that you seldom, if ever, see. And honestly, the bike shines in sixth gear, but again, the sixth gear basically is the gear of adventure. You are only going to use the sixth gear when one morning you kind of wake up and you tell yourself, hey, I'm in mood for adventure. I'm in mood to go beyond the confines, the immediate confines of my state, and let's go on long tours. Let's go cruising. And that's what the sixth gear does. It invites you to go on those long tours. You're never going to need it for the back roads. I tell you that right now. You're just not going to need it. It's just too long, and it's too tall of a gear. And honestly, I've tried it once. Actually, when I picked up the bike, I had to ride it for 2.5, about 3 hours on interstate highways, where I had to keep up with traffic. I had to, you know, feel comfortable. And even though the fifth gear did that quite well, sometimes I felt like I needed the sixth gear to do just that. Woo! Okay, relax, calm down. Oh, what a bike. So yeah, it's the sixth gear is what I like to call the gear of adventure, you know. And I'm just gonna go back to some of the reviews I read. I love to read reviews from people who know what the hell they're talking about, unlike this guy who, you know, I have several degrees. None of them are in engineering or motorcycling or any of that. So, you know, take what I say with a bit of, you know, reservation, right? So this reviewer, in discussing the sixth gear, he basically stated that, which is totally true, that in sixth gear, this bike really feels like it's gonna stall out sometimes, which is totally true. It's a gear that you're seldom gonna use unless, of course, you go on little adventures, which is fantastic. And I think that's what the sixth gear on this bike is. It's to remind us that, hey, you know, I can take you wherever you want, which really answers the question that I've seen a lot of people ask, and I don't know, I guess I know why. Because the one question most people ask is that, hey, can I go touring long distances on the T120? And hell, man, the obvious answer is absolutely. Absolutely. People have gone to the ends of the earth on the Royal Enfield 500, the 650, on even smaller bikes than that. So, can you go touring with this bike? Hell, absolutely. Is this the bike that is going to do best the kind of touring you want to do? Now, that is a different question. I think that's what most people want to ask. Is the bike that I'm looking at best fitted for the kind of touring that I intend? But if you don't intend to do too wild of touring, this bike can do it. And honestly, hey, you can do wild touring with this bike as well, 100%. So, I haven't gone touring on the T120. I have gone touring on my 750, the Guzzi, the V7 Guzzi, and hell, I have never felt more comfortable. So if the 750 can do it, this bike will most certainly do it. And it will honestly do it with style. So far, this bike has impressed the hell out of me. The hell out of me. But I'm going to ride it a little bit longer so I can give a better opinion, a more, you know, thorough opinion on the bike. So that's why I've held back reviews of the bike. So yeah, that's sixth gear, the gear of adventure, the gear that says, hey, you bought me for a reason, get off your ass and let's go and explore the world, that kind of a thing. All right. Now the question is, will I do it? Will I in fact go on a long adventure? That is a question that I am contemplating. I don't know at the moment. I really do not. But I am contemplating it. I am. So there's that. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gents, that's the Triumph Bonneville T120 broken down gear by gear. And the thing to remember about the T120 is its torque. It puts out 77 foot-pounds of torque at very low revs, 3,500 RPMs. So you get all that muscle early on in the lower gears. And I want to make a correction from earlier in terms of the horsepower. I believe I did say 77. It actually, this beautiful bike delivers 79. And for some reason, I keep also reading elsewhere that 80, but its manual says 79 horsepower at 6,555 RPM. I hope that you found this video, I don't know, informative, useful, And if you have any comments or any feedback, I would truly appreciate that. Your comments not only help the channel grow, but most importantly, it really helps our growing community. I really love when I have fellow bikers who sometimes will point things out and say, hey, you know, you were inaccurate there. And I readily admit what I shared with you comes really from my experience, my reading and my knowledge, all of which is really not technical. But if you know, if you have something to say, please drop it in the comment section. I do know that my viewers read those comments, and from personal experience, I know that comments have helped me quite a lot in my journey so far as a motorcyclist. So yeah, thanks for staying with me. If you have stayed with me for this long, if you have a favorite gear, I welcome you sharing it. So yeah, have as always, ride safely, be well, enjoy life, Godspeed. Reluctant Biker out.